Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to talk about the opening range breakout strategy, which I play every single day. Over the last few months it's given me some significant profits and I'm going to share it with you. So stay to the end and I'm going to go through some examples and you'll see every day you can pretty much pick up an ORB play. My accuracy is around about 80% on most of these plays. As long as I manage my risk well, then it's a very profitable trade. What is the ORB? The ORB is the opening range breakout, a 15-minute range, and that's what I look at, the 15-minute. You can also look at the 5-minute range, but I play the 15-minute range because I find the 15-minute is the most powerful of the day. You'll often see the market come back to that 15-minute area over and over, and that's the reason I like it. It's a very powerful area. Also, waiting 15 minutes after the market is opened gives you just enough time to watch the market and which direction it wants to go for the day. And not trading in the first 5 to 15 minutes is also sometimes quite good because that's when you get all the volume and you get whipsawed around. I'm going to draw on my screen an example of an ORB and what I'm looking for. So I'm waiting for 9:30, so let's go to 9:30 on here. And I'm going to draw my first candle. So assuming we're looking for, so I'm on the 5-minute chart, so I'm looking at 5-minute candles. So 9 o'clock, 9:30 comes in, then I get another candle, and then to 9:30, 9:35. Let's get rid of that one. Let's go with a down candle, and I want to draw in my range, and that's my range setup. So we've got this candle here. This is the 9:30 candle. This is the high of the range. So what we'll do is draw in our range line. So this is our top of the range. Let's do it in yellow. So this is the opening range high. So 9:30, 9:35, 9:40, 9:45. So this is the opening range low. So this is the range I'm watching for. And then what I'm looking for is either a break below or above one of these lines, and the market will move probably similar to this, and then we see a push up. It can range for a bit, push up, and then I'm waiting for the next candle to break above and close above that range. I don't want to see it doing this with a tail, because that is not a close above the line, something like that. I don't want to see that. It has to be a candle like that previous one. So now I know what my risk, this is my risk candle, so I'm going to put in my stop loss will be just a few ticks below that candle, and then I'm waiting for the entry. So I'll put an entry just above, and I'll do it in red just for example, and that'll be my entry. And let's go with the next candle, and I will go into some live examples shortly, and then I'm looking for something like that. So that'll be my entry just there. So my entry will be there, my risk will be this, and I'm looking for a minimum of 3 to 1. And so for that to work, there is a tool I use on TradingView, which is let's draw it in. So this is my risk, and I'm looking, I always go a minimum 2 to 1, but I'm looking to get 3 to 1 in all my trades. So this is my 3 to 1 area, and then I'm waiting for the market. I just want to hold strong and just wait for the market to move. So we could see something like this. Oh, let's go back into drawing. And we might see something like that, and then that's my profit just there. And that is my opening range breakout, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. You could also, if you're waiting for the break and retest of the opening range, then potentially we may see it do, let's go back a bit. So we ignore it, let's get rid of these, because I've got 2 plays. I'll basically play the opening range breakout based on the first candle that breaks out, and then I'm looking for an add if I could. So we could watch something like this, and that's the opening range break and retest, and then I'm looking for the next candle in the direction I want to move in, something like that. It could be like there, it could be bigger, that could break that area, and then my risk then would be this candle here. So that'd be my entry, potentially there, that'd be my loss, and then I'm looking for again 3 to 1, and I want to see Oh, let's go a bit. Hang on, I want to see it push up, push up, push up, and it hits my 3-to-1 target. So that's two strategies you can play basically on the ORB, the opening range breakout, and that's exactly how I look for that every day. This is on the bullish side. I also look for the same on the bearish side, and that's my opening range breakout. This gives me a 80% success rate. And there's one more thing I want to just talk about as well, and that is the re-entry, because it does stop. Yes, I had 2 stops on it, can you believe? So I took, let's just go back. So I got into a trade just exactly like this, and then it pushed up, and then we had loads of red candles, which took me all the way out. Let's go back to red, and then my stop would be this one just here, and that's my stop. But I have a rule: if it stops out within the first half an hour, so sometimes you might get into the trade and it might just whipsaw you in. So you get in, and then and let's draw it in. So you get in on the next trade, so that will be your entry. Let's just draw it in there. I'll just draw that line, and that's my entry. And then you might just then get a candle that just takes you straight back out. Oh, and it could look a bit like this, and it stops you out. And then you get a green candle, and then it sets up again above the orb. So now I treat it differently. So instead of me using this entry candle here as my entry, I'm now looking for, let's draw the risk in. That'd be my entry there, just above there. That'd be my risk there, a few ticks below. And then I'm waiting for a break above that candle, and we may see it go sideways for a bit like that. This is a perfect pattern, and then the breakout, and that would be my entry just there with my stop below. And then that's when we want to see on volume as well up to the 3-hour mark. So that's a re-entry, and I try and make sure the re-entry is more of a in and out. I've had less success when the entry stopped me out, and then I try again 2-3 hours later where it just comes back, retests. But if we lose 50% of this orb, then I'm not interested in the retest. It has to stay up in the 50% half of this opening range, because that means it's still pretty bullish. The moment it drops down into this range, then my long is off the table. We're losing the orb, and maybe we could focus on the short side as well. And that is basically my opening range breakout. So let's just grab some examples. I won't show you yesterday's because I had 2 stops. No, I will show you because I want to show you an example of stops as well. Okay, so I do have an indicator called ORB. I've actually turned off indicators. Let's just indicators. Oh, you get that on there. So this is my orb from yesterday. I'll show you my entry. So this is a candle that got me in. So I got in at that point. My stop was this candle. It's quite a big risk candle. I'm looking for 3R. It's about there. So this is my trade from yesterday, and you can see didn't get to 3R, and it stopped me out just there. It didn't even hit 2R, but it's a hard one. These are the hardest ones when you have such a large candle. So this candle was about $20, and that meant, hang on, I can tell you what the candle size was, $13. So I like to trade MES. I like to risk $100 to make $300 per account, and it wasn't quite one account. It wasn't quite two. It wasn't quite one contract of ES. It wasn't quite 2 contracts of ES, and I trade MES. I say ES, I analyse on the ES chart. So kind of I oversized a bit. So what I did on this trade is I got in on one contract there. When it pulled back, I added another. So that was my 2 contracts. My break even was probably about this area, and I had one of my contracts was taken off at break even. The other one was taken off at the break of that candle. So it was a 1-hour loss in the end, even though I oversized slightly. But that's how I managed my risk. And I did try again. I tried at this point here, and I think I did try a very small one there, but I broke my rule. You see, if you remember my rule, I don't want to trade when we dropped below that 50 points. So that shouldn't have been a trade. That's off the table, and that's off the table. Even though I took half risk on both, it was a 2-hour losing day in total. Should have been off because I should have only been focused on, well, I shouldn't have even been trading that time of day. I have a rule, never to trade after midday, and I think I had a bit of revenge trading because I got back, I missed these, and I got stopped out of trying to regain my costs. Here's a good example of a opening range breakout which didn't work or didn't even trigger. So let's go back to my pen. So we got this big wide, and I'm glad really, because we had this big wide range candle that closed there, and then we're waiting for the next candle to break that candle, and you can see it didn't break that candle, so that's an invalid ORB. This is a valid one. That's an invalid one. In fact, that's an invalid one. So that's the opening range. And look, when I say about how important the opening range is, let's just take a look at this. So we held it there, we held it there, we held it there. This is a 15-minute range. We held it there, held it there. We held it again there, there, and there before we finally lost it. So the opening range is, in my opinion, is a critical area to watch, and that's why I like waiting for the first 15 minutes. Okay, so let's just go back a day, and this is a good day. I nailed this one as well. By the way, if you're finding this helpful, make sure you tune into my live pre-market show every weekday at 9 AM Eastern Time. That's where I break down the key levels I'm watching across ES, NQ, SPY, Bitcoin, gold, oil, and a lot more. Plus I walk you through my strategy and how I plan to trade that session live. It's real, raw, and no fluff, just solid prep and live order flow. So hit that subscribe button now and hit the bell so you don't miss it. So you can see the opening range. So it closed down, it did close below the low opening range, but we didn't put in a new low, so we didn't break that, so that's an invalid one. And then this is where it gets good. So I got in on this candle here with my stop just a few ticks below that candle, and I was targeting 3R. You look at 3R, and it went, in the end this went about there. It went about 6R in the day. But I got my 3R exactly where I wanted. Yeah, I back tested this as well, and I found that you pretty much get 3R most of the times. 4, 5, 6Rs you get on occasion, so if you want to hold a runner. But even if I held a runner, then not once did it came close to stopping me out. We're never in drawdown on this. Is a great example of a non-drawdown opening range. So that was a 3R winning day. So that makes up for the 2-hour loss yesterday. So let's get rid of that one. Let's go back another day. And these are only from the last few days as well. Okay, so opening range, the low's been established, the high's been established in the first 15 minutes. We can see we've got our entry, and it would have been the break of that one. So this is a stop, and we was targeting 3R, which is about there. So I'll just show you, let's just zoom in a bit. So we close above the range, we put in this candle. I would have probably entered there, and not probably, I know I did, and I would have stopped just there on that big tail. That's a whipsaw out. So now it's my re-entry. See, within the first 30 minutes, well within that, roughly, you know, it's a roughly 30 minutes, it's exactly 30 minutes. So then this was my next this was my next entry. Notice how we stayed in the top half as well, which is really important. And so let's draw this one in. So that's a 1-hour loss. My stop just there, and I got my 3R was about here. It's exactly that, and my 3R on target just there, and that's 3R. So that's a 2-hour day. Ben, I had a 3R day the previous day. That's 5R minus the 2R of the 2 trades I took the previous day. So that's still 3R over the last 3 days. Let's go back to the previous day. So this is April the 28th, Monday. So opening range has been established. Let's draw in our, so we took this one, that would have been my risk candle there. The wrong way. So this was a stop, but I took the re-entry. In fact, this one, I remember it quite clearly. I didn't actually take it. I took the next one. The first one I missed, not because I missed. Let's just draw it in anyway. So that's the one that closed. We could use the closing candle. I normally like to use that candle, but I try and find the smallest amount of risk as possible. But that is where my stop should have been, and I do remember this play now, and it was a stop out there. But what I did is I got in, because it's a big candle, I oversized slightly. I didn't want to get in with too many, so I had one off there and my other one off there for a 1 hour loss. And then I waited, so that was a 1 hour loss basically. And then next time I waited for the next opening range. You could have used this candle, and I think I did. I should probably open up my trading journal, but let's just open up. Let's just do another one. So my entry was on the pullback. It's kind of almost a break and retest, but I'll do it properly using that candle as the risk. That's my candle a few ticks above, and then target was 3R there, and that was an easy 3R. So that's 2R on the day. Where's it? About there. So that's a 2R because we had 1 hour loss, and so -1 here, +3 on this one. And look, you could have even, that's out of hours anyway, but you know, look how the 15-minute range, the lower 50%, it was a down day this day, and nothing would go above that 50%. So that's a 2R day in total there. So that's 5R in total this week. That's exactly what it is actually. And so it's a 5R week, and that was Monday the 28th of April. So that's my week this week, and you can see getting 3Rs seems to be, well, not seems, I've back tested this as well, and one day, my next video, I'll go through my back testing results. I've gone back quite a few years and I've been back testing. Let's just do Friday. I wasn't around Friday because I was travelling up to Wales, but I know it worked because I saw. So again, opening range has been established. Okay, so the first one's a stop, because we had that just closed there, and you had the 1 hour risk, and what did it get to? It didn't even get half an hour, and that's a stop out. So that was a stop, so -1 on that one. However, it's really been a hard day, this one, because I wouldn't have taken this one. This bar was too big, so definitely wouldn't have been a trade for me on that one. So that's an invalid. And look how the 15 minutes holding, we broke back up, came back, retested it there. That's the opening candle. So definitely watching the 15-minute. But then if you were to take this trade, this is the opening range breakout long, you could have used this candle as your risk, and you could have more advanced risk management. You could also look for ads. That's 2R. Did it go 3R? 3R. When did it hit 3? If you held through the post market, it would have hit 3R. But you know, if you close at the end of the day, which is what I would have done, you would have got 2.7R out of that trade. So that, in fact, you wouldn't have done, because you would have stopped out here. Sorry. So that's a 2. I probably would have taken something off up here anyway. 2.9. 2.94. That's not far off 3R. But if you were playing the break and retest, breakout and the retest, this one here, you had a lot smaller risk. It would have been the bottom of that trade. So that if we were to do the break and retest, let's just draw it in, and on my pivot would have been probably the bottom of that candle, or the ORB high, and that's an easy 3R there, and it would have gone 5R before you would have come out. So the break and retest is just as powerful, and that would have been a great trade as well. So again, you could have stopped out once there. That's too risk, that's too big, that risk candle, so I wouldn't have taken that. And then so that would have been a -1, and then you could have got +5 or +3 or almost 2.7. And one way to manage your exits as well is to wait for the trend to break. So if you're in this long and you're drawing your trend line up there, as soon as it breaks out, you could use that as you get out, and I often do that as well. Yesterday I wasn't around, so I set and forget, It went all the way up, pulled back down, went closer to R, and it's ended up stopping me out. So had I been sitting in front of the machine, I probably would have managed it a bit better. But if I set and forget it, then don't need to do anything. So that's the opening range. I'll go back one more day as an example because it just works. And look at this, what a great example. And then maybe I can pick a random day as well. Okay, so let's draw in the risk to the risk. So we had our first close above that there. That's our entry. That's our risk. Now look at this. I remember this day. It was a brilliant day. I took 3R. I was done within the first hour of the day. But look how it finished. If you held a runner and you held to the end of the day, that is a 12-hour day. Easy days. These are the trend days. These are the days we want to get in. So that is another really easy day. And that was easy 3R. Let's just do another one. Okay, I do remember this day. We rejected. Again, 15-minute range is important. You could have a strategy what lets you take the rejections off of here, and you could have held it all the way down for a target at the bottom, play the range. So here, let's just put this risk to reward in. It's a short. I was using that candle there because it closed below. Oh, that's my entry. And on this one, I'll do that one, but I did actually wait for the pullback, and I added. So I entered there, and I added on the pullback, which gave me a better risk to reward. And then that went 1.3R because it's a big candles, and you don't want to be playing these big candles. That's too much risk. So on my break and retest, which you could have taken, you could have add. So still my stop, but I brought my risk all the way back up to about midway between the two. And then that would have hit 3R, so there's another 3R. So again, that is another 3R day, and it's about managing your risk. So you just got to have, and this comes with just experience of doing the ORBs as well. So that's the breakdown, the retest, that's the add point there. And look, if you missed this, you could have re-added again up there. Again, saying the 15-minute is a strong area. It held it there, it held it down here as well. So that's another easy 3R day. And again, I've lost count now, so it's another 3R, maybe a stop on one of the others. So it must be up about 7, 8R by now, and that's just less than a week and a half. And if you're trading, if you're risking $1,000 per trade, you know that's $8,000 week. It's an easy week. So, and I think that's pretty much it. Let me just show you my journal, just so I got some backing. In fact, I ended the month a bit better than break even. I was away for a week, and and that was my last month. So you can see I was away that week. I had one good trade. So because I'm risking 3 to 1, I only need a couple of winning days just to make up for the losing days. So I had a batch of 3 losing days there. Managed to hold my risk. You can see I over traded those days as well. 5 trades, 11 trades, and then I had a small losing day that day and a brilliant week. And then I had a couple of losing days because it's such a high success rate, and I'm aiming for 3 to 1. Doesn't matter about these losing days. So this week ended. That's my P&L for the month. Let's go back to the previous month. What's that? March the 1st to March the 31st. Okay, that's got the wrong month. Let's go back to the 31st. Of March. Okay, so this is March. Again, a lot more. These are just ORB plays, mainly ORB plays, and it's a few smaller days. Like that one's a smaller. That's a break-even day. We had a couple of losing days. That's a 3R loss. I've been adding to my Apex accounts as well. So I think I was trading 10 accounts on these months, but now I'm trading 15. So my winning days and losing days will be a little bit different. So 4 losing days all month, and again, all it takes is 4 losing days. I only need like 3. That's 4R loss. I just need 2 winning days just to get better than break even with the 3 to R1, 3 to 1 risk to reward ratio. Okay, so that is pretty much my opening range strategy, and if you have any comments or you would like to discuss it or share your screenshots, leave some in the comments. I'll be interested to see how you play it. Leave me comments as well on the strategy. I'm open to discuss it, and maybe I'll do some live trading with the ORBs, because you know I can do live trading every day and it'll only take up the first hour of the day, and I think it's not a bad idea to do. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I will be back in my next video. I'll probably go through some more detailed ORB setups in the next one.